What if the familiar rhythm of democracy simply stopped? Imagine a world where elections are no longer a certainty, campaigns, debates, and voting day fades into memory. This isn't a scenario about a sudden, violent overthrow, but something far quieter and more insidious. The slow, deliberate erosion of the very systems that allow citizens to choose their leaders. Democracy, at its core, is a promise. It is the agreement that power is borrowed, not owned, and must be returned to the people at regular intervals. It's a complex machine built on trust, participation, and the rule of law, designed to ensure that governments remain accountable to the governed. At its center are free and fair elections, supported by a vast architecture of checks and balances. However, this system is now showing signs of strain. Sophisticated disinformation campaigns, amplified by social media algorithms, can erode public trust. Economic anxieties and global uncertainty can make populations more receptive to strongman leaders who promise simple solutions. The pressures don't always manifest in dramatic coups. Often they appear as subtle changes to the rules, paving the way for democracy to be dismantled from within. The first consequence of democracy's end is not chaos, but a chilling and unnatural quiet. The formal announcement might come as a decree, citing a national emergency. The familiar rhythm of political life ceases. This initial period is marked by a carefully orchestrated display of control, designed to preempt any organized resistance. Behind the scenes, digital surveillance is ramped up. The message is clear and unambiguous. Dissent will not be tolerated. The new leadership must create a legal framework to justify its actions. Emergency powers, once temporary, are now made permanent, allowing the executive to rule by decree. Any remaining independent judges are swiftly removed, replaced by loyalists who understand their role is to provide a legal stamp of approval for the regime's decisions. The courts are transformed into an instrument of power, and the press is pressured into self-censorship, printing government narratives as fact. The end of democracy sends an immediate, powerful shock through the economy. Financial markets, which prize predictability, react negatively and fast. Foreign direct investment grinds to a halt. Without an independent judiciary, contracts are no longer secure, and the risk of expropriation is too high. The government responds with drastic measures, like capital controls, to stop money from fleeing the country, which only deepens the crisis. The initial fallout devastates the middle class, as their savings, held in local currency and stocks, are decimated by inflation and market collapse. With democratic accountability gone, the economy transforms. Economic success is no longer determined by innovation, but by proximity to power. Small and medium-sized businesses, the backbone of a healthy economy, find themselves unable to compete and are either driven out of business or acquired by oligarchs. A new type of foreign partner arrives. State-owned enterprises from other autocratic nations, striking opaque deals for access to natural resources. Environmental protection quickly falls from a policy priority to an administrative obstacle. Regulations are ignored and enforcement agencies are defunded. Illegal logging and mining operations, protected by corrupt officials, accelerate deforestation, leading to soil erosion and loss of biodiversity. In urban areas, the lack of emissions controls leads to a sharp increase in air pollution, causing a surge in respiratory illnesses. The physical backbone of the country begins to fail. The power grid, starved of expert maintenance and investment, suffers increasingly frequent and prolonged blackouts. The water distribution system suffers a similar fate. Leaks go unrepaired, and mismanaged treatment plants fail to purify the supply. Meanwhile, the regime's technological investments are focused on surveillance and censorship, creating a great firewall while public-facing digital infrastructure decays. The social contract is unilaterally rewritten. The state demands obedience, and in return, offers a minimal level of order. Public services like healthcare wither. The education system, purged of critical thought, becomes a tool for indoctrination, crippling the nation's future human capital. A pervasive climate of fear settles over society. Social trust evaporates as people become afraid to speak their minds for fear of being reported by an informant. The long-term outcome is a nation that is weaker, poorer, and more brittle. It is a society trapped in a low-trust equilibrium, where fear atomizes the population. The initial promise of a strong, decisive government reveals itself to be hollow. The result is not a well-oiled machine, but a fragile and inefficient society. The state, obsessed with its own survival, devotes its resources not to the public good, but to surveillance and repression, creating a vicious cycle of decay and discontent. This thought experiment reveals a fundamental truth. Democracy, for all its messiness, is a deeply practical operating system for managing the complexity of a modern nation. Its mechanisms of accountability, transparency, and peaceful transfers of power are the feedback loops that allow societies to self-correct, to innovate, and to build trust. When that machinery stops, the promise of progress is replaced by the certainty of control, and the boundless horizon of what could be is narrowed to the grim reality of what is permitted. What scenario should we explore next? Share your ideas below. You've been watching IfVerse, where imagination meets possibility. See you in our next reality.